say you wanted to produce something different from what everybody else was doing. Who was your teacher? Who was your master that showed you, or where did you get your ideas from, the crate digging and everything, you know?
My whole creative side comes from, you know, the early pioneers of just good music. Quincy Jones, James Brown.
So it's not really hip hop artists.
Not at that time, no.
Not from that.
It was just really James Brown, number one. Like, just the way he danced, the way his music was just so funky, and just his arrangements, and he just had so many records. Prince, big influence. You know, on the hip hop side, and George Clinton. You know what I'm saying? Major. Yeah, Parliament, Boosie's Rubber Band, everything. Then when it came to hip hop production, I was really into King of Chill. He produced MC Light, Audio 2, The Alliance, and he's the one that taught me how to work the equipment that I use now. So I used to go to his house when I moved to Brooklyn, because he went to school with Gordon, who I moved in the house with. So they were high school buddies. So you know, he taught me how to work the S950 Akai sampler, which was the sampler that Marley Marl was using.
Okay.
So when I saw Marley Marl, as far as hip hop production, Marley Marl was the number one.
Okay, right.
Number one. He's the James Brown of hip hop. You know, yeah.
Okay.
So Marley,
wow.
See, I used to stare at pictures of him in studios, and I was like, oh, look what he's using. He's using that and that. Okay. And I wanted the same thing, you know. But I didn't want to copy him. I just wanted to,
to have
you know, to have that equipment and develop my own style. So him, Larry Smith, who did all the Houdini stuff and old Run DMC records and Curtis Blow records, Larry Smith, Rick Rubin. Okay. Yeah, he was a major influence. You know, of course, the Bomb Squad, Hank Shockley, and you know all of them. You know, G Wiz and you know that whole squad. They were part, but they had come a little bit later. But Marley Marl just totally changed the whole hip hop game upside down. Okay. So all of them combined, from Prince to Quincy Jones, to James Brown, George Clinton, Larry Smith, Rick Rubin, Marley Marl, and the Bomb Squad. Pretty much developed my
Okay. Now, when you was spinning records and making mixtapes, what kind of records were you spinning there? And how was it? Because right now we know Houston is a big hip hop scene, and screw music and all that stuff coming from there. But I guess in the mid '80s, how much did from New York? Because that's what I guess was coming from.
Yeah, during the '80s, everybody was influenced by New York. You know, everybody, Scarface, the Ghetto Boys. You know, and then some of their members were from New York and New Jersey. You know, Reddy Red and all of them. You know, and Peter Parker. You know, he was from Brooklyn, so they always had New York. You know, elements, and not only that, that was the only guy that anybody had at that time. Even the West Coast, you had to study where the style came from, which was New York at the time. Right. You know, so and again, I broke into the business when it was very hard to get acceptance in New York, and at that time, it meant everything to get a New York acceptance. Right. That's the birthplace. If it had originated somewhere else, I would have been to that town. Okay. If it had been Poland, I would have been in Poland.
Right. Well, that would have been great.
For sure.
Right. But did you experience back then that they was like didn't even try to listen to the stuff that you was making? They were like, where he coming from? Oh, he from Houston. Like, nah. Come on,
there were people that were like, oh, you're country and all that stuff, and I didn't care. I was like, I said, I'm gonna show you I'm better than what you think I am. You know, I'm all about letting the talent speak for itself. You know, like Rakim said, anywhere you from, it's where you at. Right. So me. You know, a lot of people, you know, used to make fun of the fact that I had a country accent at that time, you know, because it's a little more gone now, but at the time I was a lot more, you know, I had that twang, but you know, I grew out of it. I mean, I've been living in New York since 1987, so it's a long time.
So you lost that.
Yeah, and I've been around a lot, you know, since then. But I mean, overall, you know, as far as like digging in the crates for records and stuff like that, I've been doing that since I was a child. Because you know, I come from the era of vinyl. You know, there weren't no CDs and stuff like that. It was 8-track. I came from the 8-track tapes. Right. You know, like we had those in my parents' cars. You know, so it's a whole. I've seen the technology change from the vinyl to the cassette to the 8-track to the CD to DVDs, laser discs. I've seen it all. You know? To MP3s, you know, digital. Okay.
Now, neither you or Guru coming from New York, but you still are, as far as Gangstar, the New York group. If
yeah,
it comes
for sure.
to New York sound,
Yeah.
you're the one. How did you have to adapt to that New York feeling, or did you just soak it in? And
I mean, it was just the fact that, again, we only had New York to study at that time. Like we had no other guide. There was nothing from Texas yet. You know, and even the ones that were from Texas, they were trying to dress like New York. The Adidas shell toes, the big Dookie cable chains, and
the
you know the Kangos and the Gazelles. Like it was only New York to look to.
Right.
And then it spread a little more. You know, but we were totally one New York to accept. I respect for what they did.
Okay, but did you feel like, oh, we just copycats, or did anybody be like, oh man, they just want to be like us? But you can never be like us because you ain't from here.
No,
you never had to experience.
It's all about the talent speaking for you, and we knew that our talent was on the level of what the New York artists were doing. You know, the New York artists were coming off raw and hardcore with the DJs. I said, I'm gonna be a nice DJ. I want their respect.
Right.
And I earned it. And I earned it without having to compromise. I stayed the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, now you started off with Gangstar, your production and everything. Then when did you get to produce for somebody else? How did that happen? What was the first record you produced outside of Gangstar and got the
first record I ever produced was Lord Finesse. Funky Technician album.
Okay.
But he was also, his demo actually made it to Wild Pitch Records when my demo did. And Guru used to go through the demo tapes, and those are the two that he was into.
Okay.
My demo and Lord Finesse.
Okay.
So Guru had a major influence on Lord Finesse getting signed.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so, but as far as when people started to take notice, it was Ice-T. Ice-T had me do a remix to the Lifestyles of the Rich and Infamous.
Okay.
And once I did that, it got a little play. And then from there, I got a call from KRS-One to work on Return of the Boom Bap. Then from there, everybody started calling. You know, from Rakim to Jay-Z to Nas to Biggie.
Right.
You know,
Janet Jackson.
Yeah.